Welcome to the Week 14 NFL preview on the Amateur Hour. It's Dave, it's John. We missed the Thanksgiving week. Catch us up, Dave. How was your Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was a tough week to try to record, busy with family and friends, but Thanksgiving was good. We traveled home, got to see the family, drove up to Appleton for Thanksgiving, so got to hang out with the extended family a little bit, got to watch a whole slate of football, saw the disappointment that the Bears, ended that game with, but at least they fought hard and came back in the second half and made it at least a competitive game. I thought they were going to get blown out by the Lions. Um, and then got to see the Packers, just dominate the Dolphins at the night game. So, how was your Thanksgiving, John?
Good. Yeah, we did the 5 mile turkey trot. Carla was fast as the wind, dude. We got up at 7 a.m. I think it went off at 8. 7,000 people. So crazy. So the first mile is just a clusterfuck. There's so many people you can't get ahead, So I could just speed walk the first mile basically.
Yeah.
And then after that, because Carla said, "Oh, I'm not a runner. I hate running. I can't run." But we had been doing about like 10-minute miles when we trained, and I think by the end she was averaging like 9.5-minute miles or 9 minute 15 seconds. So she was running really fast, and it's fun because there's a lot of people. So like if you can be fast the last mile, you get to pass a lot of people, which is fun. You
Save
know,
some energy and then just dust them at the end and make them
dust
feel
them and
shitty.
then just flip them off as you walk
Yeah.
run by. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Eat my
fun too.
rubber.
Yeah, there was a guy, there were one or two guys sitting towards the finish line in their car. Like they didn't know that the race was going on, so they couldn't move. So there was one guy who just rolled his window down and started honking and cheering people on for like the last 20 minutes of the race. The last people were there. I mean, he
You
must have
probably,
cheered on like 1,000 people.
yeah, you probably would have got stuck there for like an hour if you didn't know.
Serious. Yeah, he was there for a long time and he's like, I'm gonna make the most of it. It's Thanksgiving morning. And he
You
just
didn't
cheered
read any
people on.
signs or anything, just didn't take a U-turn and go some other direction.
I think he was having too much fun, dude. He was having the time of his life.
Dude, I know a lot of things that are more fun than that.
It was
I can't
hilarious.
believe you did it. 5 miles on Thanksgiving morning, man.
Yeah, my legs were kind of hurting, but it was honestly worth it. And then I weighed myself and I was a little lighter than I usually had been, so then I was like, yes, I can really slam food for Thanksgiving, and I did. So then we went to the Packer game and I was almost about to vomit because I had eaten too much, It's hard when you eat a lot to drink and just get a nice buzz because there's so much food absorbing all that
Yeah, it's much
alcohol.
harder. You got to drink way more beer to get a good buzz.
But I
Did
just kept telling myself that God gives his hardest battles to his strongest warriors.
did just you two run it, or did you like push your dad in a wheelchair like one of those inspirational stories of the Iron Man?
Actually, Mike and Jenna signed up like last week. So they ran it. We ran like the first mile or two with them, and then they weren't that far behind us, maybe like 2 minutes behind us. So when we finished, we could cheer them in, and yeah, it was fun. And then the Packer game was colder than shit. I think the coldest game of Jordan Love's career, which
It
is
looked
crazy
cold.
to
Yeah.
think.
What was the temperature
It
out
wasn't
there?
even that cold. It was like 22, 23.
Was it windy though? Was the wind
It
chill
was a
real
windy
cold?
bitch. Yeah, we actually kind of spent some of the third quarter in this heated tavern they have in Lambeau because
That's where it gets you is the wind. If it's not windy, it's not too bad.
yeah.
But once that wind's whipping through the stadium, that can make it brutal.
Yeah, I was surprised were you surprised the Packers beat them by that much? Because I think the spread was pretty slim, like maybe 3 or 4 points that they were favored
No,
by.
I wasn't really surprised, but it was I just think the Dolphins are so bad in the cold, and then like I started to like second guess myself. I was like, maybe this will be different. It's a regular season. Maybe it's not that cold and the Dolphins would be okay, but like Tua and the Dolphins are just not good in the cold, man. And I just knew the Packers would at least be a little more comfortable. Do they still practice like in the dome when it's cold outside, or do they practice outside at all?
I'd be lying if I told you I knew. I feel like they have to practice outside, right? I feel like you would get an advantage by doing that.
You're definitely getting an advantage, yeah, but also like you get more injuries outside, I think, and like
Oh
more
yeah,
like stingers. So maybe it's like healthier to practice inside. I
that's
bet you
true.
they practice inside like most of the week, and then we'll go outside like
Maybe one
Wednesday
day.
walk through or something to like get
Yeah.
used to the. Maybe they're not like clanging pads in the cold, but it
I
does
think
give
that's
them
what
advantage.
I think that's what happened to McCaffrey is that cold. I mean, your shit's tighter. Your muscles are tighter, I feel like, when it's that cold.
Yeah,
The ground's harder than shit.
Yeah, I don't know if the cold like really like messes with your ligaments like that though. I think he like did something with his like strained his patella tendon or something. Is that what they said?
PCL or something. I don't.
PCL. Okay.
Yeah,
It was something that did not look good. Like when the runner just like gimps and then slides down on their own accord, that's never a good sign, you know.
I have a confession to make.
You were happy to see him go down.
No, no, I was not. But I was ahead by like 6 points, and Nick's cousin Dan, the only player he had left was Christian McCaffrey. So once he got ahead, I said, I hope he tears his ACL. And
Dude,
Carla yelled at me.
that's messed up, dude.
I
Yeah.
know I'm going to
Did you
hell.
think he did it when he went down?
I was like, oh no, because it was already over. Like Nick's cousin had already beat me, and he's won the league the past 2 years, so I hate his team. And it didn't look good when they go down like that. Like, these guys know their
Non-contact.
bodies really well. It's probably not good. And I'm like,
And he's at ACL tears too, so I thought it was another ACL tear, and he like knew the feeling and just went down.
yeah, I was already going to hell, but now I'm probably going to be a little lower where it's a little hotter after that. So I
Now
do
you got to
have,
sit in the back of the plane by the toilets
yeah,
instead of
and
first class.
and so I do have to apologize for that. It was a mistake. It was just in the moment, heat of the moment. I was walking up the stairs to get a beer. I said it, and I wish Christian the best. I heard he's a wonderful guy, so I shouldn't
No,
have
you
done
can't backtrack now, dude. You're going to hell no matter what.
it. I know I shouldn't have said
You
it,
never
dude.
root for injuries, dude. Never.
I know, I'm sorry.
You're
At
lucky
least I
that
wasn't
the
the fans throwing the snowballs at him as he was walking into the tunnel,
you're
dude.
lucky you got the turkey trot done with in the morning. Otherwise, you would have just ripped that thing to shreds in the
Oh,
morning.
yeah, anything that bad happens to me in life now, I definitely deserve it. So
Not everything, but if you get a knee injury, then yeah, you probably
then, yeah.
deserve it.
What did you think of the Bears? I know that, I mean, that was crazy because a 10-year-old would know to call a timeout at the end there.
That's kind of what I was saying. Is like, okay, I do think like primarily you would be an oblivious Bears fan and an oblivious like Caleb D. Ryder if you just said it wasn't any of his fault because I think like he needs to know the situation better. You can't be like sitting up there like Peyton Manning calling 100 audibles in the at the line of scrimmage either. Like, but I think once it gets to you get sacked,
18 seconds.
you let him kind of figure things out a little bit, and then it's maybe 20 seconds or less. The head coach needs to step in and say, "All right, let's
Absolutely.
call a timeout. Let's regroup." Because you get sacked. This is what I would have done as a coach. You get sacked, all your momentum is shot. I call a timeout right there, right? Because you're
I
out of
agree.
field goal range. You call a timeout. You got like he got sacked with like 35 seconds left or something like that, didn't he?
Tons of time.
Tons of time. Get sacked with tons of time left. You call a timeout. Stop the bleeding. Okay.
Hmm.
You regroup. Then I think it wasn't a third and long, so you couldn't like go up and spike it. It was like third and long. So for
Hmm.
example, third and long, let's say third and 20, out of field goal range, just out of field goal range. One timeout left, about 40 seconds. Call timeout, regroup. Then I go for like with 40 seconds, you got plenty of time to throw it anywhere on the field. I would throw like a middle of the field slant or in route to go to like, 30, 35-yard line, get up, spike the ball, get the field goal team ready to go and ready to run out. That's the way that I would handle the situation. And I am a 27-year-old man who never started a varsity football game in my life. It's like not rocket science to figure that shit out. I think, like you said, 10-year-olds that play Madden or NCAA football video games know that that's a bad situation. You don't hold the triangle button to do hurry up offense when you get sacked to make it third and 20 with one timeout left. And you definitely do not end the game with no timeouts left. So part of that is on Caleb Williams for number one, trying to go to the line of scrimmage and call a bunch of audibles and sit there and think and dunk around. And number two on Caleb Williams because he waited and chucked the ball all the way down the field to give it really no time left. And then number three for Eberflus not to step in. But primarily, you got to just move that blame all the way up to number one because Eberflus is standing on the sideline like you and me watching, right?
Like Mike
Where Caleb
McCarthy, dude.
Williams is in the heat of the moment. And Eberflus has got his hands in his pocket like, I'm interested to see what he does here. This is quite
Crazy.
intriguing that he's,
Because he
you
doesn't
know,
call the offensive plays either, so he wasn't like worrying about getting the offensive plays. He's just observing.
just observing,
Right.
just being a head coach, and he is like, just he makes the worst decisions over and over and over and over and over and over and over. We're on a 6-game losing streak. We've made such poor decisions at the end of games. He had the NFL record for worst uh record in one score games. I believe he was like 5-17 or 5-19 or something just like despicable like that. So then you get the Black Friday blessing from the gods and Matt Eberflus gets fired.
The
First
bad
time
man
in
is gone.
Bears First time in Bears franchise history, over 100-year franchise history, that a head coach is relieved of his duties in the middle of the season. So I never thought it would happen. Honestly, I thought they would wait till the end of the year, but I think it's incredible. I think you get him out, you give Thomas Brown a little bit of a trial run here, and then you get some time to like, figure out who you want to implement as the next head coach versus like firing Eberflus January 6th and then trying to scramble from there.
Now that was the OC they promoted to the
Yeah, he was a passing game coordinator, then got promoted to offensive coordinator once Shane Waldron got fired, and now he got promoted to interim head coach. And it seems like he reminds me of Lovie Smith, beyond just the skin
players
color,
love
but
him.
players love him. Yeah, players coach, like the players get behind him. That's my one concern about him is the fact that like the players are just going to rally behind him and then they'll just hire him because it's the easy and lazy thing to do. But honestly, you know what? Like if he's the right fit and he's the right coach, like we haven't had the right fit in the last 10, 12 years, like since Lovie Smith. So I'd be fine with like getting him in there. I
Give
mean,
him a year,
yeah, you
right? I
try to
mean,
bring,
there's too many people that fail upwards in the NFL.
yeah,
Like who was that fucker that went from the Colts to the Panthers? Like he sucked at the Colts. Was it Frank Reich?
Frank Reich, yeah.
Right. So he sucks there. You bring him to the Panthers and you think he's going to be better? I mean, how
Yeah,
many
they like
times do these same guys get three opportunities and they suck every time?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like how his decisions are because that's what we're missing right now. I think like originally Eberflus was like a player's coach, so people liked him, but he was just so dumb
Yeah,
that people started to get pissed. So if they like Thomas Brown and he makes good decisions, then I think like it could be a good fit. I think that's a huge part of being a head coach. I mean, that's why they bring in all these smart coordinators because they are good schematically, but then they crumble under pressure, like and they make these horrible decisions. So it kind of reminds me of that Jets offensive coordinator. He was the Packers offensive coordinator. Nathaniel Hackett got his job as a head coach and was just horrible.
and ran Denver and I mean Russell Wilson
Into
leaves
the
Denver and
toilet.
look at him now.
Yeah, into the toilet. Like can't make decisions, can't,
Yeah,
handle the pressure of handling a whole roster. So I'm interested to see how Thomas Brown does. I'm rooting for him and hoping that he does well. So, hopefully that kind of helps with the head coaching search. But I also think you need to make sure this next hire is right. You need to make sure Caleb weighs in on it because he, like, as you can see, he has a very promising future.
hmm
So I think if you screw this up by hiring some moron, then I think it's going to be a huge problem for the Bears franchise going forward.
I agree. I would lean on the side of give the guy a shot because you just never know. Like Lovie Smith, I don't know if you've looked into his story much, but oh no, not Lovie Smith. Who's the one that coached the Colts? That's not Lovie Smith. Lovie
Frank
Smith is
Reich,
the Bears, not Frank
Matt
Reich. Stop.
Eberflus.
No, no, no. Dungy, Tony Dungy.
Oh,
Did you know that he basically built that Buccaneers team when then John Gruden took over and won the Super Bowl next year?
yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, because so I listened to this book. It's called like Atomic Habits, and they one of the stories they follow is Tony Dungy, and his big thing with these players is just training their habits to be instinct. Like so when they were playing, particularly the defense, when they were playing defense, they just reacted. They didn't like have to think about anything. Everything was just a reaction, so it's just a little bit faster than it had been. And he worked on that with the Colts too once he got there. And I think they had pretty good defense. I don't know for sure. That was
Yeah, they
many
did,
years
yeah.
ago. But yeah, and he had it took him years and years and years to get a head coaching job. And then he finally did and built that Buccaneers team up and then built the Colts up. So I'm always for these new guys just getting a shot, even if it's a year or two. Doesn't work out, doesn't work out. I mean, have the Bears have fabulous coaches anyways the past like 15 years? Who's been the best one? Probably Lovey.
No, none of them. Yeah, Lovie Smith for sure.
Yeah. So
And they fired him after he went 10-6.
yeah, so give this guy a shot, I think. That's my opinion.
Yes and no. I see where you're coming from, but at the same time,
Oh, you
like it,
probably
it,
want
it
that
is
Lions.
probably
You want that
it's
Lions OC, don't you?
it's probably the biggest hire in Bears franchise history. And I think if he's the right fit, he's the right fit. But I think like if they do it because it's easy and because they win a couple like stupid games at the end of the season and like the players are excited about him, then I think that's done. Look, great example of this is look at Antonio Pearson on the Raiders. Players coach, people loved him. He came in, interim head coach,
Yeah.
rah rah. Everyone was happy to play for him. They said, let's keep him. This is easy. This is going to be a good fit. And they suck ass, dude. So and he's not a good head coach. I mean, I feel bad saying that, but he's more of a coordinator, more of a rah-rah guy, and I just don't think he can, you know, maybe
It's
make
not for
those.
everyone.
It's not for everyone. It's really not
No,
for everyone. And but the bad thing is with that mentality is like you said, they keep recycling these same head coaches over and over, and it's just like a whirlwind. You look at like all the coaches that the Bears are going to look at, and half the potential coaches have been head coaches, some of which have not been good. Like I would much rather have Thomas Brown be promoted from interim head coach to full-time head coach in the offseason than hire Bill Belichick. And maybe that's a crazy take, but he's 75 plus years old.
too old.
I think he's maybe emotionally and mentally checked out of the NFL. He
Yeah,
showed his weaknesses when he did not have Tom Brady. I
I
think the
agree.
Bears roster, how it sits now, is better than how the Patriots roster was when he had him. But he showed that it's not all his coaching wizardry, and like he didn't do much without Tom Brady. So are we really that stoked about bringing in an 80-year-old male to come run the team? I don't think so.
He
My
should
number
run
one
for
candidate,
president, though.
yeah, well, you have to be at least 85 to run for president.
To
So yeah,
run
you're
for
right.
president.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also if he comes in, he's gonna want to do all the shit, all the GM shit, all the drafting, like he was at the Patriots. He's
Too
gonna
much
want.
power, way too
He
much
wants
power.
full control,
Yeah, he's the
and
emperor, dude, and we don't want the
yeah,
emperor. So
no,
I
I
would
agree
be
with you.
number one on my list would be Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the
Lions.
Lions.
Yeah,
Number two would be Mike Vrabel. I would love to bring Mike Vrabel in. I think he would change the culture really well. He was a good head coach. Those Titans
didn't have a
rosters
good
were
GM though. I
what
thought
on the
when he was
Titans?
at the Titans, I didn't think that they built that roster really well for him. I think that might have been the weak point in that when he was there,
Yeah,
which
but
isn't 100% his fault.
yeah, you can't blame the GM for the bad roster building. Or I mean, you can't blame the head coach for the bad
No,
GM and
no, that's what
roster
I'm
building.
saying. That's why I think he kind of got a little bit. I mean, he had some years he took him to the playoffs, didn't he?
He
With
he had
Tannehill?
he had awful rosters and they were the one seed.
Yeah. So,
They got upset by the Ravens, but they were the one seed going in the playoffs. So that's like he had some really good teams with some really bad rosters. So I think he's a good head coach. And so
yeah, I
I'd like to
agree.
have him in there. And I think he's like a good culture guy. We've had all these like noodle spine head coaches because the McCaskies like to have noodle spines that they can flick and wiggle around. But we need somebody to like be strong. And that's why I think Thomas Brown's a good candidate. I would put him at my number three right now.
Thomas Brown is your third option.
Yeah, he's my third option right now. I
Oh,
think
the current guy. Yes.
yeah, the
Okay.
current interim head coach.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Um, okay, yeah, that was good talk on the Bears. Who do the Bears have this week?
Bears go to San Francisco and play the 49ers that are a little banged up.
Oh,
So
I
if you
hope
want
they
to wish
piss
any
pound
more
them.
injuries and any
No, I
more
don't.
injuries
I
upon the
don't. I don't.
49ers, then
I don't. I'm sorry. Sorry, Christian. Yeah, I hope they be. I gotta tell you though, Dave, I love watching the 40. That is my least favorite team in the NFL. Second least favorite is the Jets.
you like watching them lose, don't you?
Oh, I fucking love it, dude. And they haven't just lost, Dave. They've gotten piss pounded the past 2 weeks.
This
The
is not their
49ers.
year. Yeah.
Oh,
49ers
it's
fans
awesome.
have been angry and upset with their lack of success this year, and they've been saying that they should fire Kyle Shanahan. So
Dude,
be
their
my guest and
fans
please
are
fire him,
crazy.
and we'll
Fans are
take him.
crazy, man.
What do you think? Tell me about the Packers Lions game on Thursday Night Football.
One of the better games of the week, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. One of the better games. I don't think there's too many great games on the upcoming slate, really, when
Yeah,
I just briefly
so
looked.
let's see here. Detroit's favored by 3.5. Jair Alexander won't play because he's useless. Romeo Dobbs might be back,
Jacob's going to
but
break 1,000 yards.
yeah, he will. I think so that Lions when the Lions came to Lambeau, Jordan Love at the end of the second half had that dumbass interception. And he was hobbled. He's been the past two
Yeah,
games, he's been a
he was
lot more
banged up. Yeah.
mobile, which I think was really screwing him up. He had to take more sacks because he couldn't move as
Oh,
well.
for
So
sure.
I'm hoping it'll be
Yeah.
close. I don't expect him to win, but I'm hoping it'll be close because that's just the although I did hear the Lions got a lot of injuries against you guys, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
On
Yeah,
defense.
that's classic John rooting for injuries.
No, I just
But
said thank you. I didn't root for it.
this will be in a dome, climate controlled, so that'll help. I think some of like Jordan Love's groin issues too.
I think the groin's good.
Yeah, whatever you say, man.
Okay.
Um,
Wait, I just wanted to talk quick. Did you get to see any of this Jets game from last week? Jets
Let me
Seahawks.
just since we're right on the Lions, real quick. So
Okay.
I had, of course, some Thanksgiving bets in the sports book.
Had
Fun
to.
fact for the fans out there, right? If you're a gambler or if you're just a football fan, the Detroit Lions this season, it was week Thanksgiving was week 13. Okay. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery had both scored in the game at the same game. Both have scored 11 out of the 13 weeks. I sprinkled some touchdown scores.
You
Of
fucked me
course, had
over.
Montgomery. Of course, had Gibbs. Of course, had a little parlay. Neither one scores. Neither one.
Stay away from my fantasy players, dude.
Two
Keep
out of the
them out of your
13
dirty
weeks.
ass parlays, man. I
Tell
don't
me who,
want
tell
my
me who your fantasy
players.
roster is because I won't touch them, man. None of my
Thank
guys
you.
are scoring.
Don't touch Jahmyr Gibbs and Kenneth Walker for sure, and keep your mitts off of like Jackson Smith and Jigga and Jaden Reed too.
I should have taken Jaden Reed. Damn it, dude. I should have
No,
taken him.
just keep your fucking dirty. Keep my players out of your mouth
I'm
and
gonna
your
bet on all
parlays.
four of those guys just out of spite of you now. All right, yeah, I did see some of that Jets Seahawks
Oh,
game.
that was fun, dude. That was
The
a fun
Jets,
game.
man, the Jets are just a miserable, miserable franchise, man. I thought that maybe this was the week that they turned it around, but
Oh,
they suck, dude, and they keep choking away these
dude.
games and playing like shit. And the Seahawks are a good team. Let's not pretend that they're not. But the Jets had this one in the bag, and they pissed it down their leg.
How many games do you think it's been since Aaron Rodgers has thrown for 300 yards, if you had to guess, that he started?
I would guess it's got to go back to like halfway through his last Packers game. So it's got to be like, and you don't, yeah, you said started, so you don't
Yeah.
count all of last season. Calendar days, it's probably been like 3 years, but playing games, it's probably been like 20 games.
35 games. It was actually
35 games.
the last season with the Packers, he actually did not have a 300-yard game.
His
Um,
second last season.
second to last season, it was literally about December 13th, I think, 2021. So about
That's
three
crazy.
calendar years.
That's
He's
crazy.
cooked. He's cooked, boy. I mean, the Packers swindled the Jets. Swindled them.
What did they all get for him?
I mean, they just got a second, but they didn't have to pay his, well, they had to pay some of his salary. Maybe they got a couple other picks like later rounds, but
In hindsight, it was a swindling, but I think like in the moment, I think it was a pretty balanced trade. Like he wasn't bad. Was he slinging for 400 yards a game? No, but he
no,
wasn't washed yet on the
you're right.
Packers.
You're right.
And now he is washed. He is washed like laundry in a creek at the old Prairie House, dude. He is
At the
washed.
Home on, what is that TV show?
Little
Little
House on the
House on the
Prairie.
Prairie.
Yeah,
That's where
he
he
is
is. He's in the
he's
river there.
washed and hanging over the dryer right now and hanging over the line in the backyard trying to air dry. He's washed.
Oh boy. And you know what his problem is if he doesn't retire and he goes to a team, he's going to want to start. And I think at this point he might be backup caliber.
Yeah, they're flirting with the idea of benching him right now, which I think is a stupid idea. Like, I mean, why would you bench him? He's a top three probably quarterback talent of all time. At this point, at least let him go out with some pride. I mean, like benching him is kind of like when the Giants bench Eli Manning and ruined his streak of like longest consecutive starts in NFL history. Just a scummy, scummy way to handle the situation. And you're out of the playoffs already, so like let the guy at least start. And if he wants to embarrass himself with bad play, let him do that, but don't embarrass him by benching him.
I mean, I don't care if they would. The
I know
guy
you don't
makes
care
35
because
million a year. Dude, what if you were about to retire from your pharmacy job and the last 2 months they're just like, Dave, why don't you just use your PTO up? We don't need you.
it's not the same, dude. You know it's not the
Yeah,
same.
it is the same.
No, it's not because it's on the national stage and he's an egomaniac. And I think like you just don't accomplish anything by benching him besides embarrassing him. So I really don't see like the purpose of doing that.
All right. Well, I'm rooting for the bench.
If you were in playoff contention because your defense was incredible and like he was throwing 3 picks a game and you were just losing games by like last second field goals or something, then maybe bench him and like who's their backup dude? Tim Boyle or some shit? Like it's not going to benefit you at all by benching him.
Yeah, it's not. I agree
They
with that.
just they suck and they have a bunch of holes in their roster and they're broken mentally and emotionally and they need to just have a reset on the season and that's going to be a huge head coaching hire hoot too. I mean, they're probably going to get rid of Aaron Rodgers, don't you think? Like he said he
Yeah.
would come back. He if it were me, I'd probably just retire, but he maybe he has too much of an ego where he's going to be like, oh, that was too bad of a season to end on. I'm going to come back one more year, go on one more ayahuasca trip. But they're going to have to draft a new quarterback regardless of what he
Yeah.
does. And they're going to have to get a good head coach in there to change the franchise. I could see a Mike Vrabel fitting in there pretty well. But we'll see what they do.
Um, yeah, he just turned 41 yesterday, I think. I bet he does one more year, maybe not with the Jets though.
Different team. Go back
Yeah.
to the Vikings. Brett Favre route.
Just follow. Time is a flat circle, David. Do you know that?
He's gonna
Just
have to
repeat.
sexually assault some women in New York before he moves over,
Well, no, he doesn't have assault. He just has
or
to
just
send an
send pictures of his Johnson.
unsolicited. Yeah, exactly. That's all it takes.
Yeah, true. Dude, so I saw this conspiracy that he went to the Jet. I mean, it was a trade and all that, but he went to the Jets and then screwed the Jets franchise over for the foreseeable future because Woody Johnson is he the founder or whatever of Johnson and Johnson, and they came up with one of the COVID vaccines. So he's an anti-vaxxer. So I heard this conspiracy that he went to the Jets to screw with the Woody
That's a good
Johnson's
one,
family.
actually. That's a good conspiracy.
Yeah,
I like that.
I could see it happening. How about your
I
Falcons? Just shit in the bed last few weeks and
so
just
I got that's the other one I'm excited about. I got that bet with Nick Dilts.
it's looking
I'm
good,
worried.
man.
I'm worried he's going to back out of the bet though. He's going to say, "Oh, well," because I have the text message. It says, if the Falcons make the playoff, we're even on our $150 that you lost. And I'm worried that he's going to like say, "Oh, that just means I don't know. I just still only have to give you 150." We talked about it being double or nothing, but I have no evidence except this text message.
Didn't you owe him 150?
No, he owes me 150.
Okay, well, do you know what double or nothing means?
I do, and Nick should.
Yeah, so if the Jets wait,
No,
he took the Falcons, right?
he said all it was. He said the Falcons are going to make the playoffs. I said they will not. It's going to be a Denver situation where everyone got hyped, new quarterback, new head coach, and it doesn't come together like it should the first year.
So if they make the playoffs, you owe him $300.
No, I owe him
If
nothing. Double or nothing. So I won 150 already. I either get double or I win nothing.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're
Yes,
right. That is how double or nothing works. Yeah. So
you
Nick
got it.
Dilts, if the Falcons don't make the playoffs, you owe John $300. If the
Thank you.
Falcons make the playoffs, you owe each other nothing. It's a
But
wash.
Kirk Cousins is doing his best for me, and I appreciate him, and I owe him. If you have his address, I want to send him a thank you card.
I
Because
have him in
damn,
fantasy football, dude. He threw 4 picks. Yeah.
oh, it was bad, dude. That Chargers defense is legitimate, and this kind of segues a little bit. I think the Chargers are a team that could knock the Chiefs out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. But the problem is it's the Chargers and they are cursed. And it is Chargers versus Chiefs, and the Chiefs are big brother, Chargers are little brother. So that's where I push back on you there, just playing devil's advocate. But the Chargers are scrappy as hell. Jim Harbaugh is a phenomenal coach. I had a $5 feature on him to win head coach of the year. So I'm
Looking
hoping that
good.
they just keep surging. But there's a couple other really good coaches that are in the contention this year. Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings, and obviously Andy Reid every year. But Mike Tomlin, he's up there. I
Yeah.
mean, so
So
it's going to be tough.
I think all of these teams in the AFC currently, plus the Bills, minus the Texans, on a good day could beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. That's all I'm hoping for. I just don't want the effing Chiefs again representing the AFC in the playoffs for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I do not want the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I was saying that like before this week started, I was like, I just do not want Chiefs 49ers in the Super Bowl. It's like so old and so tired. And now the 49ers are done. They're not going to make those
8%
even make
chance.
the playoffs. Yeah,
8%.
they're done.
8% then.
So the 49ers are done. We don't have to worry about that. That ghost is gone. But the Chiefs are still lingering over our heads at 11-1. And I just it's fine. Like, let them keep winning games in the regular season, let them make the playoffs. But yeah, I just want them to get bounced so bad. I don't want them to be the like first team to ever three-peat. I don't want to even see them be like close. I don't want to have to sweat that out. Like,
No,
if they make the Super Bowl, I'm gonna have to put like $100 emotional hedge. So I don't even want to flirt with that idea. I just want them to get bounced.
I agree with you. We'll be
Tell
rooting for
me,
that.
out of those teams on the page right now, like you could scroll up a tiny bit, but basically any teams that are quote unquote in the playoffs right now, if it ended today, who is your most fun Super Bowl? Take out your like Packers bias, obviously, because if the Bears were there, obviously I'd want them in there. Take out your Packers bias. Who's the most fun Super Bowl you'd want? And then who's the worst matchup you at least want to watch?
Fun for me. I will be rooting for the. Damn, that would be a story if the Commanders made it. I would still think for fun, I would like to see the Lions and the Ravens. I think
Yeah,
I would.
I 100% agree with that. Lions Ravens would be my most fun matchup.
The Commanders would be fun because it would be cool to see a um
Can't
rookie
forget about the
quarterback.
Bills too, dude. The Bills up top there, that would
That's
be
true.
they would be fun to watch in our lifetime being the Super Bowl. Those
Yeah,
fans.
and I would not be upset. That would probably be my second pick. I think worst would be Eagles Chiefs rematch of that one 2 years ago.
That'd be the least that you'd look forward to the least. Yeah.
But that is also probably the most likely.
Yeah, the Eagles look like a juggernaut right now. I mean,
Fuck. I
they're
know.
grooving, they're hitting
It
on all
sucks.
cylinders.
I won't be rooting for them. I'll definitely be rooting against them. Not rooting for injuries, but rooting against them in the playoffs.
They're up there for me as far as like fun matchups though. I would like it is kind of tired because the Eagles have won a Super Bowl in the last like 10 years, that Nick Foles versus Tom Brady Super Bowl.
Yep.
They've been in the Super Bowl the last 3 years, lost to the Chiefs. So I don't want to see them there just out of like teams that have been there already, but I don't want to see the Seahawks either, like or the Falcons
Yeah,
or the
Seahawks or
Vikings
Falcons.
or the Packers or the Commanders. So I say as far as like fun matchups to watch, I'm going Lions or Eagles out of the NFC, and then I'm going Bills Ravens out of the AFC
I think Lions and Eagles have to be the favorites out of the NFC.
for sure. Yeah.
AFC, maybe.
Look at record alone. I mean, 7-5 is the Seahawks. I know they're the 3 seed just because of their division. You got the Vikings and the Packers that are both playing really well, but I don't think the Vikings are as good
No,
as their record sits. And
no,
then the Packers, I think, could certainly make a run. But obviously, as a Bears fan, I would never ever root for that. So
never, ever, dude. What if for me, what if I was dying and I asked you just one season?
no, I don't think I would do it. I don't give a shit. I would say, is there anything else you want?
Yeah, what else could Santa get you for
Yeah.
Christmas?
Anything else, buddy?
Um,
But yeah, and then least fun for me, I'd have to go back for me to jog my memory. Uh, I think I'd have to go just I know it's lame looking at the lower seeds here, but Broncos out of the AFC I think would just be lame as hell. I mean, I
I'd
like
like
Bo
that.
Nix, but just as a team, and I hate Sean Payton, so watching them would kind of suck. The Texans I think are fraudulent. I don't want to see them make a run, and they
That's a
won't, so I'm
shitty
not worried.
division, boy.
Steelers are boring as hell to watch. I mean, they're good, but boring as hell to watch. And then out of the NFC, just those teams toward the 3 and 4 seeds there, Seahawks, Falcons, and then just because of my hatred for them, the Vikings or the Packers.
I gotta tell
I
you
don't
this, the
I
Steelers,
don't want to
I
see the
love
Lions
watching.
either.
I don't think they're that bad to watch. I love watching that George
The
Pickens.
Steelers?
Yeah, dude. When
Hmm.
Russ Wilson just throws a moonball to George Pickens and he goes up and
It's pretty
sorry.
bad football. They're just like they play good defense and like he chucks those deep balls to get them out of trouble all the time.
Yeah, but George Pickens goes up and gets him. Sorry, the cat.
It's fine. Have you ever been on NFL Tankathon?
Oh yeah. Is that where they give you the probabilities? I didn't know where to look.
Yeah, it's not yeah, it's like projected draft order right now, and then it's you click on another tab and it's like projected mock draft. So it's kind of all in one website, which I like to look at. And now it's that time of year when the Bears are shitty again. So I was taking a look and I think they have like the 11th or 12th pick right now. 11th, 4-8. There's a lot of bad teams in the NFL this year.
Yeah, it's a pretty it's a year where, some years you'll have a lot of teams fighting for that. They'll be like 9-8 or 10-7, and there's like a lot of people fighting for those last wild card spots. But this year I think it might be closed up pretty early.
It's gonna be closed up early. Yeah. I mean, just look at that alone. We're going into week 14. You have 4 teams with 10 losses.
That's really bad.
It's really bad.
I mean, Bears got to go lineman, right? I mean, is there any? I think that defense is fabulous.
Yeah, you got to go offensive line. You can click on the mock draft tab and see who they're projected to pick right now. Looks like Travis Hunter is projected to go to Jacksonville, which I assume he would probably play corner. and maybe sprinkle him in some offensive plays. But to me, like the cornerback position is much harder to fill than the wide receiver position. So that's what I would do personally. But
Yeah, from the Texas.
oh, Kelvin Banks will be a phenomenal pick. So I would love for him to fall to us there.
Is this a good I don't know much about this class. I know for like skill position players it's not as good as last year for sure.
No, skill position definitely not. It's a little more top heavy than last year. Last year's draft was actually phenomenal. It was very deep. There's a
Yeah,
lot of good rookies this season too, which is a good example of how good the draft was. But
yeah.
no, it's not a very good draft. And if you click on the big board too, it'll show like all the potential prospects as well. So that's a cool tab too. I like to sift through. And you can, sort it by position and sort it by ranking and by school. And I don't take this website as the Bible, but it does like show you it just kind of like lays things out of where players went to college, what positions they are, all their stats, and like you can kind of figure out your rankings for yourself. But it's fun to look at, I think.
I have heard a lot about this guy from Boise State, that running back.
Have you ever watched him play?
No, is he fun?
He's fun to watch. Yeah, he's like this little bowling ball that just like is impossible to stop, and yeah, I think he has the second most rushing yards in regular season college football history now behind Barry Sanders. Which tip your cap to Barry Sanders, man. He had like almost 3,000 yards in one season.
Oklahoma State, right?
It'll probably never be touched again because like Ashton Genty averaged like 225 yards a game or something stupid like that, and he's not even coming close, really.
Damn. Are there any good wide receivers in this one?
Yeah, the best wide receiver is Teresa McMillan out of Arizona. He's a phenomenal wide receiver, a big body, good hands, like 6'5", dude. That's Kelvin Johnson height. I mean,
Is he
good
younger?
hands, big body, fast. I think he's a junior this year because you have to be 3 years out of high school
Yeah,
to
so he
be
is pretty
draft
young.
eligible. And then a smaller body but a really polished wide receiver is a Luther Burden III out of Missouri. He reminds me of like a Jordan Addison,
Okay.
where like great route runner, good hands,
Just
polished receiver.
not
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah, and that Trace McMillan's maybe not as polished, but like more of a Marvin Harrison Jr., like a bigger body, more talented. You got Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State.
Yep.
He's a very solid wide receiver, but
Couple tight ends are projecting in the first round. That's interesting.
yeah, Tez Johnson out of Oregon, he's a little bit of too much of a smaller body, I think, for the NFL frame. But he's good and quick and fast and has good hands and he's a difference maker, but I don't think he's going to go very high because of his body size.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to start looking at that for Dynasty, but I usually don't really get into it till after the Super Bowl. But quarterbacks, it looks like what do they got? Shadur, and then is there anyone else? Oh,
Quarterbacks are not it's not a very
Miami.
good draft class. Yeah, you got Cam Ward out of Miami, who's I think going to be a pretty decent quarterback in the NFL. You got
Why
he's really
isn't
dropped this year, but the Georgia quarterback, he's dropped really far because he's struggled lately, last like 5 or 6 weeks. Blanking on his name, and then Quinn Ewers has dropped too. He's struggled with injuries this year and hasn't played as well as he normally does.
Carson Beck?
Yeah, Carson Beck basically projecting end of the second round right now.
Might be a good year. That's the year I feel like, because what was Bo Nix taken? I know there were like five or six first round quarterbacks. Bo Nix was pretty late, wasn't he?
Bo Nix was first round. He was about maybe 22, I think.
Yeah, that's what sometimes if you get those rookie quarterbacks that go to a middle of the pack team, kind of works out better for them. Not all the time,
Yeah.
but
You
sometimes.
usually go to a much better situation roster
Right.
wise. Yeah. That's kind of what I was talking about with one of the ER doctors is like if it were me, yeah, the first overall pick and stuff would be cool and flashy, but I would rather go mid to late round. Like look at Bo Nix, look at Lamar Jackson. You're going to a
Yeah.
better franchise and a better situation. So in the long run, that's the right play. You're gonna make less money right away, but yeah, in the long run, it'll work out.
Yeah. Got about probably 15 seconds, Dave. Send us off in style.
Dynasty running back to look out for you, John, is Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. So a lot of people are going to be hyped about Ashton Genty, but Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa, is a phenomenal running back.
You like him?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think his body's going to translate well to the NFL too, and his skill set. So that's my dark horse there. Not dark horse. He's going to be the number two running back prospect, but
Yeah.